My name is Vorkalis, and I have commanded fleets for 300 years. I have watched stars collapse. I have negotiated peace between species who wanted nothing more than to destroy each other. I thought nothing could surprise me anymore. I was wrong. I was sent to Earth for one reason. The Coalition Council needed to decide what to do with humanity. Some members wanted to offer them full alliance status. Others wanted to keep them isolated, watched, and controlled. My job was simple. I would visit one of their military academies, observe their training, and write a report. My opinion would carry weight. Many species before humans had failed this same test. I expected humans to fail too. I did not think badly of humans out of cruelty. I thought badly of them because of the numbers. Their lives are short. Their bodies are soft compared to most species in the galaxy. They have no natural armor, no claws, no special resistance to extreme heat or cold. By every measurement my people use, humans should have been a weak species, barely surviving on their own world, let alone standing among the stars. I landed at a place called Ashcombe Military Academy, somewhere on the eastern coast of their continent called North America. A human officer named Colonel Reyes met me at the landing field. She was small compared to me, and she looked tired, the way all humans seem to look after a full day of work. She smiled and shook my hand, a strange custom I still do not fully understand. "Welcome, Commander," she said. "I hope you're ready to see how we do things here." I told her I was ready. I was not. The first thing I noticed was the weather. It was raining. Hard, cold rain that fell sideways because of the wind. On my homeworld, training is never conducted in weather like this. It is considered unsafe and unnecessary. Here, hundreds of young cadets were running across an open field, carrying heavy packs on their backs, mud covering their boots and legs. No one stopped them. No one seemed to think this was unusual. "Why are they training in this weather?" I asked. Colonel Reyes looked at me like the answer was obvious. "Because the weather doesn't care what mission we're on," she said. "If it rains during a real crisis, we don't get to cancel it. So we train in the rain." I wrote this down in my notes, unsure yet if it meant something important or if it was simply foolish. We walked further, and I saw a group of cadets practicing hand-to-hand combat. This did not surprise me. Every species trains its soldiers to fight. What surprised me was what happened when one cadet, a young woman, was knocked to the ground hard. I expected her to stay down, to call for help, perhaps even to cry out in pain. Instead, she rolled to her feet almost instantly, wiped mud from her face, and got back into position, ready to continue. "Is she injured?" I asked. "Probably a little sore," Reyes said. "She's fine." "On my world," I said, "a soldier who falls that hard would be given medical attention immediately." Reyes shrugged. "Out here, sometimes there's no time for that. We train them to expect pain and keep moving. It's better they learn that here than learn it during a real crisis." I began to understand, slowly, that this was not carelessness. This was intention. Humans were not simply enduring hardship by accident. They were choosing to create it, on purpose, so their young soldiers would never be surprised by it later. We continued through the academy. I saw classrooms where cadets studied strategy, history, and engineering, much like my own people do. I saw a mess hall where they ate together, laughing and talking, seeming almost relaxed despite the exhaustion clearly written on their faces. It was a strange contrast. In 1 hour, they could be crawling through mud under harsh commands, and the next hour, they could be laughing over a simple meal like old friends. Then Reyes brought me to something she called a team resilience exercise. I did not know what this meant, so I asked her to explain. "We put cadets into small teams," she said, "and give them a mission. Partway through, we tell them that one of their teammates has been lost. Not really, of course. It's a simulation. But we want to see how they respond emotionally and tactically when they believe someone they trained with is gone." I felt something uncomfortable stir inside me at this. My own people do not test emotional reactions this way. We believe true readiness comes from controlling emotion entirely, removing it as a variable. I wondered if humans were simply being cruel to their own young for no purpose. But I watched anyway. The team, 5 cadets, moved through a simulated building, searching rooms, calling out clear signals to each other. Then, through their communicators, a voice announced that one teammate, A young man near the back of the group had been lost in a collapsed section of the structure. I expected panic. I expected the mission to fall apart. Instead, the 4 remaining cadets went silent for exactly 3 seconds. I counted. Then their team leader, a serious young man with short hair, spoke calmly. "We adjust the formation. Continue the objective. We grieve later." They did not stop moving. They did not cry out or argue. They shifted their positions, closed the gap where their teammate had been, and continued the mission with the same focus as before. When the exercise ended and the lost cadet reappeared, unharmed, laughing as he rejoined his team, I saw something else that surprised me even more. His teammates did not simply return to normal immediately. 2 of them hugged him. One placed a hand on his shoulder and said nothing at all, but I could see something pass between them, something that looked like relief mixed with restrained emotion. "They allowed themselves to feel it," I said quietly, after the mission was complete. "That's the point," Reyes said. "We don't want emotionless soldiers. We want soldiers who can set emotion aside when the mission demands it, and pick it back up when it's safe to. If you remove feeling completely, you remove the reason they fight for each other in the first place." This idea unsettled me more than I expected. My own species trains for emotional control by trying to eliminate emotion as a factor entirely. Humans seem to be doing something different. They were not removing feeling. They were teaching themselves when to use it and when to set it aside, like a tool they could pick up and put down as needed. Later that day, I asked Reyes what happens to cadets who fail these tests, who cannot keep up physically or emotionally with the training. She looked at me for a long moment before answering. "It depends on why they're struggling," she said. "If it's a physical limit, we often find another role for them. Logistics, engineering, medical support, intelligence work. Not everyone is built the same way, and that's fine. We need all of it." "You do not remove them from service entirely?" I asked. "Only in rare cases," she said. "Most people who wash out of one path find another one here. We don't waste people just because they don't fit one narrow mold." On my world, those who fail our early assessments are quietly reassigned to civilian life and rarely spoken of again. We consider this efficient, standing in the rain, watching cadets help each other back onto their feet after a hard fall. I began to wonder if efficient and wise were not always the same thing. As evening came, Reyes led me to the final part of my visit, something called a capstone field exercise. A team of senior cadets, the ones close to finishing their training, were given a scenario involving a damaged structure with a supposed hazardous leak inside, cadets trapped, and limited time to complete a rescue safely. I expected this to be carefully staged and controlled, and it was, until something small went wrong. A piece of equipment malfunctioned. A support beam, part of the training structure, shifted slightly with a loud groan. For a moment, real concern crossed the instructors' faces, not fear, but focused attention. This had not been part of the plan. I braced myself, expecting chaos, expecting the instructors to rush in and take over immediately. They did not. The cadets inside noticed the shift instantly. Instead of freezing, they recalculated within seconds. I watched through the observation feed as they adjusted their positions, reinforced the unstable section using tools they had on hand, and calmly continued the rescue task, communicating clearly with each other the entire time. No one shouted, no one panicked. It was, without question, one of the most composed responses to an unexpected problem I had ever witnessed. And these were still students, not veterans. When it was over, and the structure was declared stable again, Reyes finally allowed the instructors to step in and check the beam. "That wasn't supposed to happen," she admitted to me, "but I'm glad it did. Now you've seen something real, not just something we planned." I said nothing for a long moment. I was trying to understand what I had just watched. "They are cadets," I finally said. "Not veterans, not elite soldiers. Ordinary students, still in training." "That's right," Reyes said. "On my world," I said slowly, "what I just saw would be considered elite performance, the kind we expect only after decades of experience." Reyes looked at me, and for the first time all day, I saw something like understanding in her expression, as if she knew exactly what I was struggling with. "We don't wait for people to become exceptional before we trust them," she said. We build the conditions that make ordinary people capable of exceptional things. That's the whole point of this place. I returned to my ship that night in silence. My assistant asked if I was ready to dictate my report. I told them to wait. I sat alone for a long time, reviewing the images and data I had gathered. Rain-soaked cadets who refused to stop. A team that grieved only after the mission was finished. Instructors who let failure happen naturally instead of preventing it completely. Young men and women who, faced with an unplanned crisis, responded with the composure of seasoned commanders. I had come to Ashcombe expecting to find a species clinging weakly to survival, deserving either our protection or our control. I did not find that. I found something far more unsettling. I found a species that took its fragile, short bodies and stubbornly refused to let that fragility define what they could become. They did not remove weakness by avoiding it. They trained themselves to move forward with it, alongside it, faster than any of my own people would think possible. When I finally recorded my report for the Coalition Council, I did not recommend caution. I did not recommend control. And I did not recommend keeping humans at a careful distance, the way some had hoped I would. I recommended alliance, not because humans were harmless, but because they were the opposite. I told the council plainly that whatever had been built inside that academy was not something we should try to contain. It was something we should be grateful to stand beside, and perhaps a little afraid to ever stand against. I left Ashcombe Academy horrified, yes, but it was not the horror of danger. It was the horror of understanding, for the first time, that we had underestimated an entire species simply because we had never bothered to watch them closely enough.